Hi everyone, Aidan here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination 4 Bike Rack and seeing how it fits on the back of our 2023 Toyota 4Runner. Now this is a platform style bike rack and a more entry-level option at that. So platform style meaning the bike sits on top of the rack rather than hanging by the frame. And that's going to be advantageous in a number of ways. It's going to allow for the use of alternative frame bikes really well without the need for an adapter bar because we're clamping onto the frame with these cradles and they can slide up and down, rotate 360 degrees to attach to all those different frame styles, and this works really well for kids' frames too. And the other 2 points of contact are going to be down on the wheels in each side, pulling down and in, which creates actually a really strong hold on the bike. The only limitations to keep in mind is we don't advise carbon frame bikes on here because it does make frame contact. And for weight capacity, you're limited to 35 pounds per bike. So for 4 bikes, for you and the family, that's probably going to be perfectly fine. Just know that you're not going to be carrying any e-bikes with this. There's also no tilting feature, so if you needed to tilt the rack away to gain access to the back of your 4Runner, you couldn't. But the 4Runner also does have the sliding back window, so you've got that advantage there. Your other option is to just remove the bike entirely. To do that, you just need to take off those straps, pressing in the gray button, pulling the ratcheting strap out for both wheels, and doing the frame last because that frame strap is the thing that actually holds this upright. And you want to have just a hand on the bike while you're doing this, so you can eventually lift it up and away. Now this one is probably the most awkward to do because you've got to reach pretty far in for it, but it's not too bad. Luckily that center mass is really low, so you don't have to lift too much. And because we're not lifting super heavy bikes, it isn't too cumbersome. When you're done, you can lower the mast down by releasing this catch plate and folding the mast to either side. I always like to actually take the strap from the cradle here and just feed it around the bike frame or the bike rack and use that to hold it down. You can replace your other straps too if you want. Just good practice to make sure they aren't flying around loosely as we're going down the road. And before we fold things up, I do want to get some measurements. Starting off with our ground clearance. The 4Runner obviously sits pretty high off the ground and there's a good rise in the shank, giving us at the back end 26.5 inches of ground clearance at the lowest point here. That's going to be more than enough for any sort of steep driveways or hills. And it does stick out pretty far from the back of the 4Runner, adding 42 inches from the bumper to the end of the rack. So that's going to be something you need to keep in mind when you're driving around, pulling into parking spots, that there is that added length back here. But when the bike rack isn't in use, if you want to leave it in the hitch, you can fold it upright for storage. Near the hitch, there's going to be a hand knob and threaded pin that we can release to unlock the rack and fold it up. And just rethread that pin with the newly aligned holes at the bottom. And this is going to be your storage position. So that will cut down on the length added quite a bit, make it easier to park in a parking spot or maybe even pull in your garage at home. And because that's threaded, it's going to also act like an anti-rattle device and just keep that pivot point solid. So once you've got it tightened down, that new measurement is going to be only 15 inches that we're adding to the back. That's a lot more reasonable and keeps things pretty compact. With it folded, you just want to keep in mind that your backup camera is going to be pretty obstructed. Same thing for if you have bikes loaded up there. But because this is mostly open, our license plate does remain mostly visible. Taillights are perfectly fine because it's a very narrow rack. And even in the folded state, it doesn't stick up too far or block our back window. And the last thing is at the bottom, it is fitting with our 2" by 2" receiver tube and comes with a locking anti-rattle bolt. The anti-rattle keeps things solid in the hitch, and the lock just makes sure that no one can mess with it. which is nice because for an entry-level option, most of them don't come with locks. So it's nice that Hollywood Racks included this. And that's about all there is to it. For me, the Destination is a really solid option. It works with a wide range of bikes and does it really well. So if you're looking for a good bike rack to get you started for you and your family or you and some friends, I think this is a great place to go for your 2023 Toyota 4Runner. Thanks for watching.
Now we're going to go ahead and take it on our test course. First we'll start with the slaloms. This is going to show the side-to-side action. It's kind of going to mimic the movements that you'll see whenever you're driving down the road normally. Now we'll have the alternating speed bumps. This is going to be more so like the uneven roads and some of that uneven terrain you might be traveling on, and see how it holds up.